I forgot to say 3, 2, 1, start.
Well, here we are.
Yeah. So hello everybody. Today I have a special guest. It is Amanda Perino. And who is Amanda? Basically, if you go to the Ruby on Rails website, there is this foundation thing, and there is this Rails Foundation that was founded, I think, like around a year ago. And Amanda is the head of the Rails Foundation. So you can find her on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and she had also a few appearances in a few different podcasts that I tried watching before, while preparing for this one. So hello, Amanda.
Hi, thank you for having me, Yaroslav.
Yeah, and I know that you are currently preparing for a Rails World conference that is going to be in Amsterdam on the beginning of October. So yeah, this is really exciting. Like, can you tell more about it? What should we expect?
Yeah, sure. So Rails World is the first user conference, Rails user conference by the Rails Foundation, which actually it's been less than a year. It was announced in November of 2022,
Mhm.
and I started in February of this year. So the Rails Foundation is brand new. It really just started when I began working. So our first order of business was to find a venue and set up this event, Rails World, and we're pretty excited. It's in a beautiful venue I think you've seen in the heart of the city in Amsterdam,
Yeah,
and the CFP is open. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I've seen the pictures. It looks really grand, like a church to me.
Yeah, it does look like a church, but it's actually the old stock exchange where they used to
Oh.
trade business.
Okay, so quite the
And
opposite.
this Yeah, and yeah, exactly. It's commerce versus religion. And this room in particular is the where the Chamber of Commerce used to meet. And it looks pretty, to me, I think it looks like a Hogwarts, where Harry Potter would have learned wizardry, I think.
I mean, to me, it looks like you can sit in a circle and pray around, I know, sacrificing somebody.
A sacrifice. Who are we going to sacrifice? Sign up in the CFP to be sacrificed.
Oh my. So, yeah, I've also seen that there is this form, and it is like pre-early bit, so like pre-registration.
Yeah, so we opened that because we were getting a lot of emails asking when the tickets would go live. And this is the ticketing website, Tito, which, by the way, is built on Rails. And we decided to open a waiting list so that people would know, because right now it's quite flexible. We have to get a website built first before we can release tickets. And we want to have the speakers pretty much figured out before we release tickets so they know if they need to buy or not. So we
Mhm.
started a waiting list, and right now we're at 850 people on the waiting list.
850, that's a lot. And what will the capacity be?
650.
Oh, so, wow.
Yeah, so it's going to be I think we'll sell out quite quickly, and I think we're going to have to disappoint some people, but the venue just isn't big enough for I think everybody that might want to come. But we'll see. Possibly a lot of people on this waiting list won't, in the end, want to come. Well, you never
Mhm.
know.
Yeah, and actually, just an hour ago, I listened to this Rails changelog podcast, and you mentioned that it is going to be quite a small event. And I was surprised to hear that it's considered like quite a small event.
650 sounds big to you?
To me, it does.
Yeah, so we have a lot of different size conferences in the community. There's a lot smaller ones, like Friendly RB is going to be around 100 people in Romania this year. And then you have on the other end of the spectrum RailsConf, which is up to 1,200 or 1,500 in some years. So we're kind of landing somewhere in the middle with two tracks. We do have the possibility for a third track, but we don't want people to choose really but having to decide where to go. And really you get lost when there's a lot of tracks, I think. So we're trying to keep it to two tracks plus the Hogwarts room will be for workshops.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's just a lot of choice, I think, for events right now in the Ruby community. And I think that's really great.
Yeah, and talking of a big choice of events, you also mentioned the Friendly Ruby, and in like within 20 days from Rails World, there are going to be 4 different conferences. And
That's
is there like
correct.
any reason why everybody wants to have like the conferences at the same time? So like in June, there are going to be, from what I count, 4 conferences, end of September, beginning of November.
Yeah. So from what I counted, there's going to be about 5 in June and 4 in September and 3 in October. And that's really just no matter what the industry in the Northern Hemisphere, May, June, and September, October are just peak conference season times. So that's kind of what we see everywhere. And in addition to that, for instance, Rails World, I can't speak for the other conferences, but Rails World was limited by public holidays, school holidays across Europe, which actually it staggers week by week.
Mhm.
Other conferences we try to avoid. And then on top of that, availability of the team. When was I available? When was the board available? So in the end, what really, really determined these specific dates were when was the venue available? Because in-person events
Mhm.
are back and everybody wants all the venues again. And this venue in particular was only available during these 2 dates with all those other limitations to keep in
Mhm.
mind. But I think so. I looked at Python just to kind of contrast and compare, like to see like, is the Ruby and the Rails community like oversaturated with events? But actually, we're not anywhere near Python. Python has 7 events in June around the world, 6 in September, and 6 in October. So we have some catching up to do, I think.
Mhm. Yeah, it's an interesting comparison. And talking of Ruby conferences, meetups, events, have you visited any yet, or are you planning to visit any other events?
I would, if I had the time and the budget and I didn't have such an old dog, I think I would try to get to every single one on the calendar this year. But I won't be able to do that. So, and also I'm sending my passport away for 6 weeks this week or this year. So my whole summer has to be on mainland Europe. But I've been to 2 Amsterdam Ruby meetups, the Rails Girls event in Rotterdam, and I went to RailsConf in Atlanta. That was my first time at a kind of larger scale Rails community event.
Yeah, cool. And also, I've seen this recent news that there is the Rails World Call for Papers open. So, have there already been any submissions so far?
Yes, yeah, I think we've had about 10 to 15. Off the top of my head, it's around that number so far. Um, some people have submitted more than one, and it's open until June 16th. So we're hoping to see quite a lot more. We have about 26 spots to fill, plus
Mhm.
6 possible slots for workshops.
Yeah, looking at the link, where was this link? Submit your proposal here. So I already see familiar faces here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And what is the main topic going to be? So talks around like anything Ruby on Rails related, or more like active record, action mailbox, hotfire.
So we go into more, excuse me, we go into more detail in the CFP, but really what we're looking for is very tech focused, forward thinking talks about how to use Rails in the coming years, are aligning Rails with certain industry trends right now, for instance, AI. So that's kind of what we'll primarily be looking for. Like, how are you going to use Rails for the next 20 years, for instance? And then after that, we'll look at kind of how are you using Rails now. But really, we want this to be a future thinking conference.
Hmm. Okay, and yeah, I'm thinking of surely also applying. Uh, I just think I need to now think of a forward-thinking topic of like how we're going to use Rails in the next 20 years. Any suggestions? Like what would
Oh,
be a perfect topic title?
oh, that's a hard one. That's a hard one, especially from me, because we have a whole committee behind this and we have a couple of ideas ourselves that we'd like to see from the community. But mostly I would say read the CFP because we have a lot of suggestions in there.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, so I'm really looking to forward to Rails world, and I wanted to learn a bit more about the foundation itself. So I see that there is the part where you like update the website. So like the Ruby on Rails org website looks well much more up to date now than it was a couple of years ago. Then there is the event organization part, and what other activities does the Rails Foundation do?
Yeah, good question. So the foundation, the mission was set up to support the community through improved documentation, marketing, events, and education. So we already covered the event, Rails World, that's coming. Documentation, before on our call, you mentioned like the branding, and just now the branding on the rubyonrails.org website looks really good. We're going to try to migrate some of that look and feel into the guides and the API section of the website, just to kind of have a better user experience and restructure what it looks like on the guide side so that people can have access to learning over there, as well as the guides and as well as the API. So that's a whole big project on its own that falls under the documentation pillar. And then we have marketing, which means just like spreading the word about, well, of course, you know what marketing means, but spreading the word about Rails and how to use it and use cases of other companies that are using it. And education, which is something that we haven't really fleshed out yet, but involves a standardized curriculum and then seeing if more boot camps and universities can possibly pick it up and teach it again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the education part is most interesting to me because, well, that's mostly what my channel is about. And like, do you have any ideas of how you envision the educational pillar? Do you think of any like maybe I don't know paid courses or collaboration with Ruby on Rails content creators?
We would never create a course that people would have to pay for. More than that, we're looking to the rubyonrails.org website to be the place where people could come for free education about Rails. But we do want tutorials created for it, including video tutorials made. So there will be some need for collaboration with content creators in the community to create that content that will live on the rubyonrails.org website.
Okay, and just for example, like how could somebody like me contribute to the Rails Foundation?
That's a great question, and I'm getting it quite a lot. And like I said, there will be opportunities for technical writers to write the tutorials, to update the guides, to work with me on a curriculum, the standardized curriculum. So I would say keep an eye on the Rails Twitter, LinkedIn, and blog, because that's where we'll announce when we need help in these areas. Plus, probably more that I can't think of right now. But in general, we'll be looking to the community who uses Rails and relies on Rails to contribute back in that way.
Yeah, really cool. Yeah, I don't think I have any other questions on top of my mind.
Okay, cool. Can I ask you a question about your site, about your channel?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, so how long have you been running SupeRails?
So I've started the YouTube channel around 2.5 years ago. It was the beginning of 2021. But before that, I've been creating Udemy courses. So
Okay.
since 2020, I started creating Udemy courses. It's when I felt like really comfortable that like I'm good enough to be able to teach. Like when I had this experience, but generally, like I started learning Ruby on Rails in 2015, and
Okay.
I myself purchased a couple of Udemy courses, and already then I felt like I would like to do the same. I would like to teach, and well, it took me 5 years to feel confident enough. Like I can share knowledge. So yeah.
Okay. And so what I get often in this position as the executive director of the Rails Foundation is people who are new to Rails and they're asking resources about where they can learn Rails. I just have one in my inbox now that I have to respond to. So if I were to direct people to your channel, do you have like a starter video or a series that they can start from the beginning and learn from there?
On my YouTube channel, not exactly. So my YouTube channel, it's like I cover lots of different topics, and most of them are already require some kind of like basic understanding of how Ruby and Rails work.
Okay.
So like the videos on my YouTube channel are more like you need to solve a problem, and I have a good solution there. So like you want to use the gem Pundit, and I have like an extensive tutorial that I built based on like all the previous knowledge and other tutorials that I have consumed
Okay.
myself. Talking of like where to start, so I can show. Let me share my screen.
Yeah,
So
or like a tutorial series. That would be interesting.
yeah, so the course I'm mostly most proud of is this one on Udemy. So learn 25 gems and build a startup MVP. And yeah,
Cool.
it's actually the first course I ever created, and yeah, it has like over 4,000 students on Udemy, so I'm like super proud about it. And it
Cool.
is like completely from zero. So like you don't need to know anything, and it's like step by step you build a Udemy clone.
Cool. And it's that's so funny. Like go to Udemy to learn how to build a Udemy clone.
Yeah, exactly. And
Nice.
it's also available at cosigo.com. So
Mhm.
you can learn to build the Udemy clone on the Udemy clone website itself.
It's getting very meta now.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's a really great learning, like learn by actually building something, building like something real, and it's not like another Instagram or Twitter clone. It's like more complex data modeling and like different, well,
Right.
a platform. Then there are like admins, there are teachers, there are students, there are like
Yeah,
money flowing between different parties. And
that's the yeah, go ahead.
yeah, actually, I won't find the link now, but there was somebody who actually made a fork of Cosigo, so it's available at Cosigo/Cosigo on GitHub, and they actually built a real like e-learning platform about uh, about learning Islam.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah,
Is this
so
it?
yes, it is like the repository itself.
Okay, great. Wow. Super cool. Okay. Yeah, thanks for answering my questions. I feel like I got to interview you a little bit on your own channel.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that's it for now, and thanks a lot for being with me. It was like really interesting to uh, get to know you a bit. Like I've seen the post on Twitter, like a person named Amanda was appointed as like head of the Rails Foundation. It sounds
That's
like,
me.
yeah, it sounds like big, and like who is this person? Like what's it all about? Does it impact me as a developer? So
Yeah, those are all really good questions. And I hope by listening to the podcast and everything and people who are watching this now understand that we're just here to kind of support the Ruby on Rails community succeed like it has been doing and just push it a little bit further in the coming years. So if you have any suggestions, there's also at the bottom of the foundation page that you were on, there's a suggestion form at the bottom. So our inbox is always open if you have ideas on how to make the community better. And thanks for having me on the podcast.
yeah, and just like to recap, I really like the idea of having somebody full time whose job is like to promote Ruby on Rails.
Yeah. That's me. There's so many people in the community who would do it naturally and for a long time next to their full-time job. So now this is my full-time job.
Yeah, okay, Amanda, thanks a lot for being with me,
Thanks,
and
Jaroslav.
yeah, hopefully see you on the Rails world.
See you there. Bye.